sense there's a quorum.
You just say who's present. So
Please be on the.
Good morning. Today's attendees are Griffin, Haverfield, Reynolds, Bills, and Jangula.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Darren Johnson. I'm the Director of Parks and Recreation, and we're here with many of our management staff today. And so as we go through the presentation, we'll be taking turns, but we'll try to be very efficient as we go through our slides. What we're going to be talking about today is our mission and vision, the department goals, some of our accomplishments and where we think that we want to go in the future. Just completed a master plan, and so that helped us kind of give us some direction on where we want to go. We'll talk about some of our capital budget items, and then we'll talk about our organizational staff and any new staffing that we're hoping to get for this upcoming year. So our mission is Nampa Parks and Recreation will improve and maintain and advocate for parks, green space, recreational opportunities for the citizens of Nampa and future generations. And our vision is just really to have a positive impact through our department on the community. And so we are advocates not only for our own department, but we're advocates for recreation and quality of life for other city departments or even other recreation offerings in the city. So we have 2 golf courses, but we also cheer on the private golf courses as well because they offer, some good services for our community. I have 5 direct reports. They're here today, and many of them will be speaking. In past presentations, we kind of figured out among our staff here that we have, among the 7 of us that are here today, we have about 130 years of experience with the city. So a lot of us have been here a long time. We're passionate about the job, and for us, I think everybody would agree it's just not a job, it's just kind of what we do and in our passion for serving the people that moved to Nampa.
Hey, Darren, the slides aren't changing. I don't know if is it changing on your computer?
Yeah.
It's going to really wanted that slide. We left it that full. I thought it was just a very long intro.
Yeah.
We went through this once before, so we knew the
Yeah, I'm glad you picked that up. I was.
How's that?
It's great. Yeah. So I want to spend just a couple minutes going over the certain divisions in Parks and Recreation. You'll see that we have Recreation, the Rec Center, Parks, Cemetery, Golf, and then our administrative marketing team. Sometimes when new employees come in or new council come in, there's some confusion on why do you have recreation and then the rec center, and shouldn't it just be all one group? Well, and the reason is, I'll explain, is recreation has been with the city for many years, probably going back 60, 80 years, and the philosophy of most recreation is to provide good services at a low rate where the taxpayers get some kind of benefit through their taxes. So when you have the outdoor swimming pools, it's a minimal fee to go to those particular pools, and because taxpayers are supporting it. And for example, if you go to Lakeview Water Park, it might cost your family $12. If you go to like Roaring Springs, it may cost you $112. And then later on, they brought in the rec center. When we brought in the rec center, and this is why it's separated, it's mainly about accounting. The philosophy of the rec center was that it would be paid through user fees. And so all of our operations, maintenance, and even capital are paid through our user fees. And so we track it. We've been successful for over 30 years running the rec center without taxpayer dollars. And so that's why you see, we work together, but that's why you see budgets that are separate, and it's mainly for accounting purposes. Our parks and cemetery are led by Cody Swander. Cody also is the assistant director, and so Cody helps out on projects throughout the city that might even be away from Parks and Recreation. And then I want to, we have John Berkey. He's the manager of the rec center. We have Beej Johnson. He oversees the recreation side. And then Jennifer Vanderpool, she is our business manager. And then we have Carrie, who is kind of the face of our department. We've invited Carrie to get this information because Carrie is the person that goes out, does a lot of speaking, marketing, and fundraising, as what you'll see later today.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yes.
Good job. Thank you. Oh, excellent.
And we'll introduce ourselves kind of.
Okay, appreciate it.
Yeah, let you know who we are. Yep.
Whoops. So, yeah, so we thought we'd give just a kind of an overview of what makes up Parks and Recreation staff. So you'll see that we have 61 full-time staff members, 109 part-time people, and the part-time people are those that may work all year long, like at the rec center. And then temp or seasonal staff are brought on. They might be in the parks and they get laid off, or they might be a worker like that might be somebody that goes to college and doesn't plan on being a lifeguard all year long. They're just coming in to be a lifeguard for the summer, and so they're considered temp staff. And so part of our business model is trying to have few full-time people and trying to staff mostly with part-time and temp staff. And the reason that we have that business model is just simply for cost savings. And so, and you see that arrow down at the bottom, if you had a 15-hour-a-week full-time benefited person, that cost to the city, out the door with benefits and FICA and everything, would cost you just a little over $58,000. if we had a part-time employee that worked just slightly under 20 hours, and they worked, and we had 2 part-time people, and we job share, that cost to us is just under $35,000. So we do that a lot. Sometimes it is a challenge to find the right person that wants to fit that. Maybe we have a little bit more turnover, but again, it's our business model trying to keep expenses down and our costs down, and we do a pretty good job. We have some really talented part-time people. And I mention that is sometimes our part-time people get overlooked. And as you can see that 83% of our workforce is part-time and temp. And so one, it's the most efficient in terms of cost of employees that we can hire. And so we really need to take care of them and not pass over them when there's, raises and cost of living, and be competitive, because we're already doing really well on the savings, and without them, we just could not operate our business. Want to go over the plans. We worked on the plans with our master Parks and Recreation plan, so we worked on the goals. Just out of efficiency and time, the goals we went over just last week. So I'm going to go through these next slides just long enough to pause so people that are watching online are able to kind of pause and go through this. But goal number 1 is to continue to improve organizational efficiencies. Goal 2 is to maintain and improve facilities and amenities, and we'll talk a little bit more, our group will talk a little bit more about this as we get further into the presentation. Then the third goal is continue to improve programs and service delivery. And then the fourth goal is increase financial opportunities. In our master plan, there's a whole chapter in our master plan that goes through objectives and then strategies on how to reach those to make sure we hit our mark on those goals. So with that, Jennifer Vanderpool will come up and talk a little bit about our administration, and then we'll kind of go quickly through our staff, and then we'll have questions at the end.
So he already kind of introduced me. Sorry, here's the mic. I'm Jennifer Ayala Vanderpool. I am the business manager for Nampa Parks and Recreation. So the business or the administration division does kind of the business side of things. So we do budgeting, marketing, program registration, website management, all of that kind of stuff. So I want to kind of talk to you about where we're at and financially, and how we work hard to be fiscally responsible for the city. So the cost for recreation, so Darren kind of explained the difference between recreation and rec center. So the rec center is fully funded by user fees. The recreation division is tax subsidized. But in the year of FY23, our total cost per capita for recreation was $4.01. If we look at parks, which is our other tax subsidized part of Parks and Recreation, it costs $24.94 in FY23 to have the Parks Division. That includes all of our pathways, trails, 27 parks, playgrounds, all of that is included, as well as the maintenance for roundabouts, city entities, things like that, all comes out of our Parks Division. So the total cost per capita for the City of Nampa residents to have Parks and Recreation, which includes our outdoor pools, includes all of the parks that I just listed, is $28.95 per year. So I think that we're really affordable, and we do a good job of being fiscally responsible with the money that we have and we are given. We work on a very tight budget, I will say.
Question, I apologize. Who do I direct to follow through? Is it president? Do I just speak? Okay. Per household or per citizen? I think you had said it per household, but I just wanted to reconfirm.
Sorry, per capita, so it is per citizen.
Per citizen, okay.
Yes. So if I said household, I apologize, yeah.
So how would we be able to collect on those? Is that just an estimate across the board, or how do we collect on those property tax-wise? Is it just that we propose it to the city then breaks it down and does that in their property tax?
So what I'm taking
assessment?
is the amount that we receive in property tax, and then the number of people that we serve, so the number of people in the city. So in FY23, it was 114,960 residents in the city of Nampa. So we take the total amount that we are given in tax dollars and then dividing that amongst those people. So that's how we get our per capita cost.
Thank you.
Adding on to that, just a comparison on our maintenance and operations, another example of parks efficiency. So this is for our parks maintenance and operations. Nampa Park spends 30% below the median cost nationally for our maintenance. So if you look at this chart for our NRPA, National Recreation and Parks Association, says that for a population category between 100 to 250,000, the median cost to maintain parks is $8,002 per acre. We maintain it at $5,904, so we're 30% below the national median. The lower quartile is at $3,000, the upper quartile is at $15,000. So it varies all over the country, but $8,000 is the median, and we're operating 30% below that. One of the ways that we also do a good job to be fiscally responsible is we work with partners throughout the city and businesses to not only keep costs low, but to offset costs when we do have them. So we partner with more than 180 businesses throughout the year doing fundraising. Carrie Riley is the one that heads this up. She's our marketing supervisor and does a fantastic job in the community building those relationships and getting sponsorships. In FY23, we had $183,000 in cash sponsorships given to our department, in addition to the $72,000 that is an in-kind sponsorship, which offsets costs for us, but is not cash dollars that we receive. So, I mean, it's a significant savings that we get through the sponsorship dollars that Carrie gets for us each year. And that's all of mine. So, any questions for me before I sit down? Thanks.
Good morning, City Council. My name is Cody Swander. I'm Assistant Director for Nampa Parks and Recreation Department, and I've known some of you for a long time, but if I don't know you that well, I've actually worked for the department for 30 years. So I started at the rec center as a whippersnapper and come all the way to today. So I'm really happy to head up the Park Cemetery and Forestry divisions for Nampa Parks and Rec. Here is kind of just our org chart tree for the Parks and Forestry Division. I think this is an important slide because of the entire department. We're asking for 2 new positions for fiscal year 25. They're highlighted at the bottom, toward the bottom of the chart in yellow. There's some blue ones that are future down the road thoughts and will probably come before you at a future fiscal year. But for fiscal year 25, there's 2, and we One of them is a parks maintenance tech, which is kind of the general boots on the ground type of position that maintains parks. And the other one is an equipment mechanic. And the reason that we feel that these are justified in requesting is just due to a couple of reasons. First, I'll focus on the maintenance technician position. That position is due to essentially growth in acres that we're required to maintain. The IH2C facility and the Nampa Development Services building are two new additions to the city's Parks Department's workload, which we're happy to take on. But probably more impactful are the 13.5 acres at Midway Parks addition that's we foresee coming in the future as we continue to develop out the bare ground that the city owns into manicured parks, ball fields, and those that take more effort and time from the staff to maintain. Our goal is to get to a point where we kind of have 1 FTE per 15 acres of land to maintain. We're not there quite yet. That's kind of using some national standards, and even some cities have even much I guess it would be a lower acres per FTE to maintain. The more acres you put on an individual, generally the lower quality that the land can be maintained and manicured. So the guys that are out there working hard every day have a lot of land in comparison to other cities our size on what they are responsible to take care of. We also understand not every acre is equal, and so it's just a generalization. An acre of turf that you can just mow over quickly is probably easier to take care of than an acre of rose garden or something that has, manicured areas. Yes, Councilman Griffin.
Very quick, 1 to 17 with the current employment, or this is after that additional maintenance tech?
This, I think, would keep us at the 1 to 17,
Okay.
just with the addition of the acres.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then the next position that's requested is somewhat, I wouldn't say, it's cost neutral to some degree, which is the equipment mechanic. Parks Division relies on the Fleet Division to keep our equipment up and running. And with their heavy workload, we have just not been able to get things repaired in a timely way. I think primarily because of where we fall with the ranking in priority of importance for them. We understand the importance of having the police vehicles and the fire vehicles operational, and every time I'm down there to inquire on why a mower or something hasn't turned around quickly or is back to us, that's the answer I receive from them. And so we've met with the Fleet Division and proposed the concept of reducing the allocation that Parks pays to Fleet so that we could fund a position that would be under Parks and Recreation, that its sole responsibility would be that small equipment mechanic, somebody that could really focus on our mowers, our small pieces of equipment, keep those things operational so that we don't have bottlenecks in workflow and frustration with our citizens that are having problems with equipment. Yes, Councilman?
I'm sorry, and the reason I'm jumping in right now is because we had the discussion over Fleet and the expansion and all these things, and it was brought up, I think, by Councilman Bills that we make sure that the city has priority over any other entity. Are you saying that when you bring in, is it just for the small engine mechanic help that you're kind of on the backlog or turned away or on a wait list, or is it for all park vehicles?
I would say primarily those small engines, but there are mowers that, the 17-foot deck mowers are certainly pushed to the back of the priority line in comparison to police and fire vehicles. This proposal would not take everything, like our rolling stock, like our pickup trucks would still continue to go to the Fleet Division. This would just be for the small engine equipment or the riding lawn mower size and down.
Okay.
And Councilman, we have this model at the golf courses, and so we have a mechanic at each golf course that maintains the small equipment. Our experience is we get the equipment turned around quite quickly, and so that's what we're modeling this after, is our golf courses.
And I think it's efficient, and I have nothing wrong with the equipment side. It's more of a yellow flag, not a red flag for me, that Fleet is taking precedent over entities outside of the city, and cities then having to go and create these positions. I think it's great that we're doing it, but I also have a yellow flag with the Fleet doing that, so not just for other council members.
Cody, just to clarify, when you say that the priority is police and fire, that's police and fire, like our police and fire, correct? Not other cities' police and fire takes precedent?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so not Meridian Fire or anything else, it's Nampa and Nampa Fire
I'm not
District.
aware of any work that Fleet Division does outside of Nampa's Fire District or Nampa City Police, but I know that they have enough need in mechanic work that the shop is always busy.
Yeah.
And so the experience, the frustration that we have is a mower will go down to be repaired for something, hydraulic leak or something like that, and it will be there for weeks and weeks. And then we are, we're in limp mode with backups, and we're feeling frustration from the public that things aren't happening quickly
Maintained, yeah.
because, and when we go to check on those, that's the answer I've been given, is that we're, lower priority, and those emergency vehicles are, of course, on top.
So that was my other question then. So what, that turnaround time for mowers, you're seeing weeks?
Yes,
Okay.
weeks and months sometimes.
So this is you guys phasing into this and having your own is what you're wanting, correct? This will be your priority.
What our request is for fiscal year 25. In our conversations with the mayor and Doug Adams with the Fleet Division, at some point, I think he's limited by the size of his facility and the size of his staff, and he feels that perhaps some point in the future, when there's a future shop building that is large enough to handle it, and he could hire a staff person, maybe this position reverts back to the Fleet Division as a small mechanic or a small engines mechanic, and then they can focus specifically on those things. And Parks and Rec is fine with that model going back. We're just trying to get through the next few years without the delays that we have. And like Darren said, the model is already set with the golf division. Each of the 2 golf courses have a mechanic position, a small engine mechanic, and that's their primary focus, is to keep that small engine stuff up and running, and we're just trying to follow that model within the Parks Division.
Thank you.
Cody, do you have the shop space and the tooling that you need for this position?
Councilman Reynolds, we have the shop space. We've kind of earmarked a spot for that to happen. You will notice when we get to the budget process later, we are asking for $10,000 to upfit that shop space with an equipment lift apparatus, some tools, and some improved lighting.
Okay, thank you.
And just one last confirmation, when you say weeks and months on a lawnmower, isn't the season only a few weeks or months long sometimes? So you're saying we don't have lawnmowers throughout the whole summer, potentially?
We retain several pieces of equipment that has aged out and should probably have gone to surplus, because we know we're going to have down periods with other equipment. So we have a backup system that I know the Fleet Division doesn't like that model, because we're having to maintain that stuff too that's older, but we rely on that stuff to get us out when we do have periods of time when things are down. And I think that one of the other complications to this whole model is these machines are fairly unique in their construction and design, and they're not like an SAE qualified mechanic kind of has to scratch their head a little bit and do a lot of research when repairing things like these Jacobson mowers, because they're not a Chevy pickup that everybody kind of knows how to work on. So
I think Doug, are you online? Did you want to answer something?
I am online. I just got on, so I may have missed the questions that I could answer for you. If there you have any, you can recap on real quick. I'm more than happy to answer.
Crystal just
So question,
mentioned that.
while we're waiting on that, dollar-wise, you're going to show this differential or the savings on one hand, but the additional cost?
yes, Councilman
Get the budget.
Bills, that was our intention, is to show that to council when we get to our budget presentations.
Thanks.
I'm not sure who
Generally, I
is.
support the concept. I think it's a good move.
Okay. Okay. Should I move on or should we go? Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So under park responsibilities, I think, Darren hinted to it a little bit, or maybe it was Jennifer, that Parks doesn't just take care of parks. A lot of the maintenance that the Parks Division does are our park properties, the 372 acres of parks, but we also have 91 acres of property that are right-of-way areas, city buildings, areas that a lot of the citizens might not understand or know that it's the parks team that does the maintenance on those. The pathways and parks kind of get the lion's share of the attention, but you can see that there's quite a bit of area out there that is being maintained by the Parks Department staff and that grows as the city continues to grow, the right-of-way areas especially. All right, on to accomplishments. We've just had a wonderful past couple of years with parks accomplishments. Midway Park Phase 2 was a really big one. In fact, this afternoon, if we are having a ribbon cutting out there to celebrate Phase 2 of Midway Park. It has to rain on the one day we're planning to open the splash pad, but the splash pad's a big draw for that phase. We also have an adult fitness area at the park that's state-of-the-art. It's fantastic, covered with a shade structure. One of the big notable improvements with Phase 2 was completion of the parking lot. I know parking lots aren't exactly the most fun thing to talk about, but what it really does is it turns that fourplex and baseball facility into a usable tournament space so that we can get traffic in and out and hold some tournaments as we for our baseball, softball use out at the park. In addition, there's some basketball court with a futsal element, and it's seeing quite a bit of use. I'm actually pleasantly surprised that the basketball courts in this orientation and then futsal going the other direction. And I've seen it used for futsal, but I've also seen some roller hockey and some other fun stuff happening out there at Midway Parks Phase 2. Huckleberry Dog Park is another one that has been delayed on its grand opening, but it's coming on the 4th of June. We're going to be cutting the ribbon out there and offering the grand opening for Huckleberry Dog Park. It's a 9.5-acre site, and it really will be a nice addition. Amity Dog Park, our current dog park, is one of the most used parks in the system. There's just always traffic there. In the wintertime when it gets cold, people don't want to take their children to the playground necessarily, but they will certainly take their dogs to the dog park, and we just see a lot of use. Huckleberry will offer something for people on that west side of town, and we're hoping diversify and pull some of the heavy use that we're experiencing with Amity Dog Park over to Huckleberry. It was designed with walking loops. It has a spray feature for dogs. We're trying to really incorporate walking, since that's the #1 requested recreational activity in the city of Nampa according to our master plan, and making sure that those things are all part of any of these future parks that we're moving forward with. Ora Brandt Park, it has a substantial completion date of July of this year for its final green up phase. I know that there is a future pool earmarked sometime out there, but for the full green up of the property, we're hoping for a July substantial completion, and that's bringing on some reservable shelter, some nice permanent restroom facilities, a baseball practice field, 6 brand new pickleball courts that are in high demand in the city, a basketball facility, and additional shade shelters around the playground. So that accomplishment tied to Phase 2 out there just has that park busy all the time. If you're ever out there and the weather's halfway decent, you'll see that there's always people.
Cody, are those pickleball courts going to be lit?
They will not be lit. Okay. City still holds the policy that the parks close at dusk, and so until we have some code change, that's probably would be the case for all of our parks and pathway facilities.
Do you guys think that that's a good idea? Does Parks like the idea that it closes at dusk, or would you prefer it otherwise?
I'm indifferent. I like recreational opportunities, and I think some things make a lot of sense to be open beyond the dusk hour. I know baseball, softball really struggles to have enough games in the fall season when it starts to get dark earlier, and lighting those fields make a lot of sense to me. I know just as through public interaction that we've had with citizens over the years that there's a lot of concern about lighting and what that that would do for noise after dark and, light pollution into the neighboring homes and those sorts of things that we would probably need to look at seriously before we decided whether we wanted to move that direction or not.
That would be helpful for us to, if you guys wanted to talk about that, to come up with some sort of a code change proposal maybe,
Okay.
of something, if you feel like that would be beneficial, like we'd be willing to look at that for you guys.
Fantastic, thank you.
And on the, go ahead, Councilman Bills.
The caution side is, since we have a pathway around us on our residence side, we experience the people who show up late at night, middle of night, and use the pathways as a means to go from one spot to the next for various activities. So there's an aspect of keeping some properties under the dusk rule and security.
Yeah, Councilman Bills, I would imagine that we would want to hand choose areas that were perhaps open after dusk hours and leave maybe the blanket dusk closing rule generally for most areas that aren't specific, like the courts.
Item specific, yes. Thank you.
And going on the coattails of this, I think it might even be a possibility if you can prove to us that, it wouldn't be an issue. Even if we just took Midway, for example, that's farther out, less opportunity for complaints of light pollution, all those things, and maybe make that the sole park that's open after dusk. That way, if police or whoever else needs to visit, we know, okay, we're not bouncing from every part of the city trying to maintain our facilities that are lit, or we just have one facility that's lit and more manageable on those after hours. And I'd like to see, if we do bring that code change forward, any other cities or municipalities within our area or region that have seen either a negative benefit from the lights coming on after dusk or a positive outcry from citizens. I always like to have the
I think
numbers.
those are all things we can get answers for. Thank you. Okay, splash pads, picnic shelters, all those are popular things. I think you guys all know that the citizens are clamoring for those, and we've been very happy to move those forward. Okay, looking ahead at Parks' future, maintaining a green space, our green space level of service, acres per 1,000 for the people. I think that's what we talked about with maintenance, but one of the other things that we're looking for is just being able to maintain, as our city continues to grow, green space needs to grow to maintain the service level of having, acres per 1,000 for individuals out there. Older parks that are tired and need updated. Our master plan said that was an important thing for our community, and you'll see that as we get into the budget on some of the requests are, replacement things for playgrounds, shelters, irrigation systems that have reached their useful lifespan, and it's just time for reinvestment into some of the amenities into the parks that can be updated and bring them back, refresh them in existing park neighborhoods. Soccer fields is an important one for the city, and if you don't know, the city of Nampa has one soccer facility that's dedicated. It's McDonough Park, and recently the agreement with a neighboring business has limited our access to the park for the citizens. They've closed their parking lot off to the public, and it only gives us like a 30-foot wide frontage to this facility, and it's created some challenges and uses for the soccer. Another important aspect to know is that we lease from CWI soccer space for the games on Saturdays. If you've driven by there, you just see how popular that is. But we also do know that that's a short time. It's not a long-term solution because CWI does have a master plan for their campus with buildings located in the green space that we're currently using. So as Nampa looks forward, a facility like Midway that focuses on baseball and softball is needed in that direction of open space rectangular fields for soccer and other play there. With the opening of Huckleberry Dog Park, Amity Dog Park is it's getting aged and could use some reinvestment in some things. Drainage is a problem in that park, and you'll see come forward in the budget requests for spend some money for a grading plan and make some drainage improvements on that piece of property there that we're having some mud issues with. And then of course always pedestrian pathways. And I think when we look at parks futures, it's really important to know that I think other than like like our maintenance and operations, 99 or more % of the project, the dollars that move these park projects forward, like Midway, Huckleberry, and Ora Brand, are impact fees. And so as impact fees are coming in, that's our kind of only thing keeping these new acres coming on and for city to investments from the city is from the impact fees. Pedestrian pathways are, on the other hand, are primarily funded through grants, and our partnership with Public Works and the engineering division is really what keeps that afloat. Lauren and the good folks over there at Public Works are always looking for transportation grants to help us get pathways funded as we move forward. And so without that grant funds, our pathways would probably stagnate pretty much. So looking forward, those are important things that the community wants. We just need to find ways to keep those dollars coming in.
Cody?
Yes.
So an issue that is starting to get some community conversation is the Stoddard Pathway and the residential development south of the islands that was approved. And apparently council, looking back on the notes, if the applicant couldn't gain an easement, we'll run sewer up the Stoddard Pathway. And it'll be an enormous disruption and challenge. But that apparently is the direction the applicant's going forward, having been given permission from council last year to use that as an option. It's an issue I think we need a workshop, further discussion, coordination on, and so I'm not sure. I'm bringing it up because it's become a topic of discussion the last 45 days in the neighborhood area. And
well, I appreciate the heads up. I wasn't aware of that as an option. Yeah, certainly would impact pathway use, I imagine. And I'm imagining this is south of Locust.
No, this is north of Locust. This is between the island's Habitat Park and then up to Locust.
Locust, okay.
So a lot of rock removal.
Yes.
A lot of disruption to what's been put in.
Well,
new trees have been planted.
Yes, I appreciate that heads up. I'm very happy to come and weigh in on what might be if that is to be approved. So thank you.
Cody, sorry, really quick. As we develop more on this north side, we've been talking a little bit about these master communities, and that would, be part of you guys partnering possibly with developers or something of that nature. And I don't know how all of that works, but is that something that you guys would be in favor of, is being a part of like a master community, or do you guys like being separate and have a park outside of a master community?
We like our parks to feel inclusive to the entire city. That's one reason that as we've moved forward, we've, kind of quit planning parks that are small and kind of buried within a community. We like that the development community is doing that with their HOA parks and their private parks. We like parks like Midway and Ora Brand that are visible from a busy roadway and feel welcoming to everybody. I don't think we would be against a park in a master planned community so long as it felt like it was open and welcome to all taxpayers that could utilize it. If it were hidden in the middle of one and it felt very inclusive to those residents in that, I don't know that that would be our preference. We would probably rather have it feel like even if I didn't live in that master planned community, I was welcome to bring my family there and utilize the park.
Okay, so you possibly could, it would just need to be maybe on the edge of it or something that made it just feel like it was part of all of the community, not just that subdivision.
Yes,
okay.
and I think, we have no problem with master planned communities. They're smart developments, and it's just the size and scale of the project and meeting the intention of where Nampa wants to put its dollars, which is we feel in a larger amenity-rich park that has splash pads and playgrounds and restrooms and things that make it feel like it's open to everybody, even if it's disguised as a baseball, or it's truly hard as it's a baseball softball field like Midway. There's elements at that park that's for everybody, and that's what we would envision envision,
Yeah,
for
and,
parks.
and I think Brandt Park has a little bit of that feel.
It does.
You know, when we were working on that, and I'll credit Councilman Bills, because we had that concern of it feeling like a neighborhood park, or that it belonged to Brandt. And so with the help of Councilman Bills, we were able to get the entrance to the park off of Cherry, and that way it made it feel like that the park was open to everybody. Sometimes the subdivisions like Osborne Park and some of those, the whole community doesn't feel inviting just because of where it's at, and they feel like it's just a neighborhood park. And so and in some cases, we feel like we have some neighborhood parks where the city is taking care of what is kind of acting like their homeowners association area. And so we're trying to build parks that are somewhat more neighborhood, a little bit destination, for destination gathering, but something that wouldn't duplicate a homeowners association, and still keep that responsibility on the homeowners association of providing that green space.
Yeah, it's, having dealt with the HOA side of setting them up, and then the management turning them over, and then how people get involved from an HOA, it's pretty difficult to mix and match HOA and city items, and what the city wants to manage, the HOA may have conflict with. So it's a lot better if our plan altered a little bit, instead of all this little miniature stuff inside these developments, would be to continue to try to maximize getting land coordination, donation into a bigger, from my perspective, on the north side. And much is underway in the north side, but I think there's still time to try to work out getting some, just at the moment, haven't developed a site acquisition yet that would accommodate what needs to be on the north side as well.
Yeah, great questions, and we have identified for that future soccer facility, either North Nampa or East Nampa as kind of the hot spots where parks are needed, just based on where our existing parks already lie. And that was done through part of that master planning effort, kind of showing us that heat map of where our holes are. So we envision that being the prime, unless land was donated, for free someplace else, that would probably be where we would look to purchase something, either in partnership with a master plan development, or another city department or somebody else, or just buying it completely alone. We would be open to all of those alternatives.
Cool.
Cody, is there some parks that the department's looking at that is almost, it's under your purview, ownership, responsibility, but really does minimal benefit to the public as far as deemed surplus, need to dispose or not?
Only because of the access restrictions that we have recently faced with McDonough Park. That is one that we're looking at. How do we function with this piece of property? Is the value of that property better served someplace else? And that's a discussion yet to be had.
It is. That's one. I didn't know if there were still some remnant parcels that existed that needed to get cleaned up.
I believe everything in Parks ownership is either completely developed or under development now.
Okay, great.
Okay, so Lakeview, part of the master plan, as you guys know, was looking at Lakeview Park and what could be done to revitalize that park. It's in the heart of our town. I think it's synonymous with Nampa. Everybody drives by Lakeview at some point. And so the master plan identified some things. And as you know, this is millions upon millions of dollars to implement this plan. But it's a guiding post for us, I think, and it would be something that, hopefully some grant funds, or if dollars were ever identified, we can take some bigger actions on some of these. But as we work to revitalize the park, we want to kind of go in this direction with Lakeview. The city received a $1 million federal grant from Inflation Reduction Act. Our forestry division was actually the applicant for that. And so we're going to start seeing some tree projects come out of those dollars once they are available. We coordinate with the Public Works Department, like I mentioned earlier, on grant applications, and we're working currently on one called the OR Pathway, which will be a north-south corridor, eventually connecting the Wilson Pathway to the north to the Edwards Pathway on the south. So it's going to be a wonderful project, and I'm working with Public Works on easement acquisition now, and they're helping find dollars to grant dollars to fund that one. All right, capital, you're going to see this stuff in detail when we get to the budget workshops, but this is the stuff that we feel like one, we need in order to hit those goals, such as keeping the parks in good shape, revitalizing, old tired parks and pieces of equipment that we need to do that. Some of the standouts on here are, the big ones are Stampede Skate Park. That park is aged and has cracked concrete that I've had multiple contractors look at and say, yeah, you can't patch this kind of thing. It's probably time for a new skate park. And so that's one of the big ones that's going to stand out for everybody when we get to the budget. And then here they are continued. The yellow colored ones in the slides are our priority area 1s, and then the gray color are our priority area 2s. The area 2 things aren't because they're not important. It's just we feel like the yellow ones are more important for continued success with the Parks Department. I know I have a community volunteer group that's been working on the train engine out at Lakeview Park, and the asbestos abatement is a big request from them, just because they're very interested in having that thing open to the public, and to renovate it right and make it safe, it needs some of the asbestos abated out of that one. So I thought there might be a question on that. Do you guys have any questions? You want me to flip back a slide to see any of those? I thought I'd just go over these quickly since we're going to hit these again in a later meeting. Okay. All right, impact fees, looking ahead, like we talked, soccer property, Midway Park, construction of Phase 3. Phase 3 is going to be another fourplex that will look very much like the existing fourplex just to the west of it, and it'll have, the dugouts, backstops, and it'll include a restroom facility. And then office expansion at the rec center. That's to enclose some offices in the existing shell of the building, just to improve workspace for staff. I'll move on to cemetery if there's not any questions on parks. Cemetery, we do a lot, and I'm very proud of our cemetery. It's one of those, every time I go anywhere, I like to look at their municipal cemeteries, and ours is very well maintained and looks fantastic compared to many of those that I see out in Idaho or further. We've reclaimed several plots in the past several years. Plot reclamation is anything that is over 100 years old that hasn't been moved on, and we cannot get in contact with the owners. Some of these spaces were sold, 120, 150 years ago, and the family members have moved to other states. They've just been purchased, so we've reclaimed them through a legal process with the city attorney's help, and then we're able to resell those. And that helps maximize our usability of the existing acres that we're already maintaining. We've added our 4th niche wall, which is a popular interment option for cremated folks. We host events out there. Memorial Day is a big one. Wreaths Across America. Daughters of the American Revolution helps out with a lot of this. And we've created a new data collection of our services so we can have a snapshot of where the trends are with traditional burials versus interments versus space sales, and kind of crunch data from our cemetery. Looking forward at the cemetery, one thing that's evident are the trend of cremations is growing. Traditional burial is still a thing, and people still choose that option, but we are seeing cremations grow. And then with that, you'll be seeing a request for funding for a scattering garden at the cemetery as we move into the budget process. Improvement of the asphalt roadways, just as picking the areas that have failed shoulders and doing some seal coating work, and then replacement of mechanic equipment.
Real quick,
Yes.
a scattering garden
Yes.
for ashes?
Yes. So a scattering garden, the concept of a scattering garden is a beautified area where in the state of Idaho, you can, cremated remains, you can do anything with. You can scatter them up in the mountains or out in the ocean or whatever you would like to do. Some people like to have a memorial location for their cremated family members. One option at Kohler Lawn currently is to intern them in the ground. We allow 5 cremations to be buried in one space. Oftentimes people are hit with financial difficulties and they just don't have that option. And there's been a growing trend across the nation for a scattering garden. We envision our garden to kind of have 2 options. One option is a true scattering of your family's remains someplace in the garden, and then an engravement on some sort of a monument there so you can have the name. You can go there, see your family member's name, know that their cremations are scattered there. It's a serene place to sit quietly and reflect on your loved ones. The other option is what we're looking at is called an ossuary. And an ossuary comes in many forms, but the one we're looking at is kind of a vertical situation where you can, it's like a niche wall, where a niche wall you purchase and you put your own family members in there, and that space is yours. It's platted like an apartment building, really. But the ossuary is you drop cremated remains inside of this structure, but others do as well. And then on the outside are the engraved names. So those are the 2 options we're looking at having available for folks.
Cody, just a comment. The state is just finishing up at the Veterans Cemetery on top a scattering garden and a wall with names on it. If any of you have time to go up there and look at it, we toured it 2 weeks ago. It's really great, and you can get an idea of what they're trying to do here.
Yeah, we will certainly be looking at real examples of those if it's funded. We have a great concept design, but final design would need to be completed, and we would want the best for Nampa.
Is the ossuary more popular than the scattering garden?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
But it has been requested, and it's a thing that we're seeing a trend in. I know that there's people have all different beliefs, and some people didn't like the idea of shared space, and so that's why we wanted options for people to be able to choose.
And what happens when the ossuary gets full?
Which happens. They only hold so many. You just add an additional ossuary, and that one is essentially closed up and completed. Okay. Cemetery capital, you'll see this during the budget meeting. The big one on there is that scattering garden, some asphalt repairs and some mowing equipment. Okay, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to John Berkey. Thank you.
Good morning, Council. John Berkey, manager at the Recreation Center, Harwood Recreation Center. I've also been with the city for a long time. I've been at the Recreation Center for 22 years, and so I still am getting used to calling it the Harwood Recreation Center, as many of our citizens are in Nampa. But we really enjoy our wonderful Recreation Center. We're unique in a way. Not very many communities have a city-owned recreation center like we do, and the aspect that we are able to run that without utilizing city dollars or tax dollars is unique. And so we're proud of that, and we want to continue to run down that road and continue to do that. This is our organizational chart. We don't have any plans of changing anything anytime soon. As you notice, if you know the Recreation Center at all, we have different areas or departments, and each one of those departments has a full-time supervisor that are direct reports of mine. line. And then several of them also have a coordinator. And then under each of those, we have several part-time staff. As Darren alluded to, the recreation center is highly populated by part-time staff. Without that role of part-time staff, we would not be able to function. And so we really value our part-time staff, and they make everything the day-to-day work. And so we're excited to continue that same model, but also to take care of those staff. One of the challenges we've faced in the last couple of years is pay, is being able to attract part-time staff, even the younger staff. You know, we hire a lot of 16 to 18-year-old high school students to run our lifeguarding programs, our after-school programs. And, you know, when I took over this role 2.5 years ago, we were paying a lot of those staff right around $10 an hour. And as you notice now, I don't think there's a job in Nampa that's $10 an hour. If there is, nobody works at it. And so we've increased that, and most of those staff now, in fact all of them, I don't think we hire anybody under $14 an hour, and most of those are upwards of that now. So it's been a great thing to be able to do that for the staff, but with that has come the challenge of how do we take care of that. As you know, we're self-funded, so we want to we've been working on how do we increase revenue to be able to take care of that. Go ahead.
So really quick on this. At what point do we cap out our employee, or when are we capped at employees, or the amount of employees that we can take on without seeing a significant fee raise for families, for the city to have to then step in and say, hey, we need to supplement where the rec center cannot? Do we have a targeted, this is when we've hit our max on line item budget for salaries before we have to go and then ask for a supplement?
We don't have that right now, but here's the benefit of the rec center is this, is as we increase staff, we also increase revenue because we can create more swimming lessons. We can create, so it's one of those things you have to spend money to make money a little bit that way. And so one of the things we've tried to do is make sure that we have enough staff to run programming. And as our programming grows, which is one of our biggest goals, is how do we fund all of this, right? And some of that's through those user fees as far as membership, but then others are programming. And so our programming, things like after-school programs, special events, those help to supplement those membership fees so that those don't go out of control, if you will. Every year, we take a look at fees, and we make sure are we going to be able to hit the bottom line, basically. And that's our goal every year, is to stay in the black so that we can continue to add to our fund balance. So, yeah. Just a few accomplishments. This last month, we celebrated 30 years of serving the community of Nampa. The Recreation Center, this number, this 558,322, came from FY23, so we will be close to this year of having 600,000 people come through the doors of the Recreation Center. That's a lot. If you're a person and you walk into the rec center at 6 o'clock on a weekday night, you'll notice there's a lot of people in there. We range anywhere from 1,500 to 2,500 people a day that come and utilize the Recreation Center in different ways. Recreation Center membership attendance is also up. We're seeing more people actually utilizing the membership. We have several people that don't, but we are seeing more and more people utilizing what they have. One of our big accomplishments this last year, too, is swimming lessons. Swimming lessons after COVID exploded. And I think a lot of that was just because we had so much time that went by without being able to offer some of those things. And so in FY23, we had 2,402 participants in our swimming program, and that's just at the rec center. That doesn't include Lincoln and Lakeview Pool, which that number gets even bigger when you add those in. So this year, we're planning to have over 2,500 participants participants in our swimming lessons. Other things is just expanding unique programming. I'll highlight something for an example. I had one of our coordinators came to me last year and said, hey, I want to do this mother and daughter tea party. And I thought, oh man, this is never, but I doubted a little bit. And we started it out, we had 52 people the first time last year. And so then this year we brought back the mother-daughter tea party again, and we ended up having to do 3 settings, and we ended up at 153 people this year. And so what we're finding is there is a need, there's a want out there for some of these unique programs. And really what it is parents wanting to be involved with their children. And so that's our goal, is to continue to find those avenues, those things that will allow people to come in and utilize the rec center. And those special events are easy for us because we can do it. It's one day, right? And we run through that, and then we can go on. And it's a little less expensive staff-wise than running a full league program or something that goes on for days. Just some of the future. In our master plan, we noticed that people love the recreation center, but it is getting crowded. And so one of the things that we have identified is a need for an expansion, a need to be able to grow space. We have a conceptual plan put together to increase the building by over 15,000 square feet. What that would do is it would take the gymnastics area off of the current gym floor and give it its own space. That would open up for 3 more pickleball courts as well as basketball use on the gym floor, which pickleball is the explosion there right now. We get a need and a want for that every week. And it would also expand our weight room by about double. That's the other area in the building that we've identified that is very congested, is our weight room facility. So that's our goal, is to be able to do that here within the next 2 to 3 years. This is just a conceptual plan. You'll notice that we're building basically to the south of the building right now, going into what we call the backyard. And so that puts that weight room there, would be off to your right to make that bigger. And then the building to the left right there would be 2 more areas. One of those would be a studio where we would offer anything from aerobics classes to programming for children, and then the other one would be a dedicated gymnastics area.
Question on that.
Yep.
With this expansion, does that completely eliminate the green space in the back of the building? Does that butt it right up to the fence?
It does not even close. We would still have a large area back there.
Thank you.
Yep.
John, are there any tennis courts in there, or would they all be pickleball?
We don't have any current tennis courts inside.
But the pickleball that you're proposing, would any of that be tennis, or is it all pickleball?
All pickleball. Yeah, tennis is so much larger to be able to do indoors. It would be a completely different model. So we would still retain racquetball, and then we would include 3 more pickleball courts. Right now, we're running basically one of our gyms turns into pickleball in the morning, and then we turn it back into basketball in the afternoon and evening, and that we would just do the exact same model with the other court. And so, yeah.
I have a high school tennis player who complains that we don't. So.
I think that's something to keep in mind, that you are correct with tennis, and coming from the recreation side, I can speak to that a little bit. The city actually owns just one area of tennis courts, and those are at Lions Park, and the rest of we're relying on the NSD, or the school district tennis courts. And so you're right, there is a need there as well. Thank you.
So quick question right on that as well. Do the school districts allow the public to come and play on their tennis courts, or do they chain those up, or what's the accessibility to those?
Yeah, most of those are available after hours. They're not available during school hours, just like the tracks and that. And the high schools are a little more tight on those, but the middle schools are really have been open to them. So most of your middle school courts you can get onto. You just have to wait until after hours because they don't want public on the school facilities while kids are there.
I can't speak to other high schools. I just know that Ridgeview, they are open pretty much all summer long. The kids are on those courts all summer.
Yeah, a busy area for sure. These are just some of the capital things. We have a 30-year-old building, and so we're looking at every year what do we need to spend money on to make sure that our building stays up to date. One of those things this year, parking lot seal coat is needed. We have lots of cracks. The senior citizen side is getting after me and letting me know that they like to tell me when there's a crack in the parking lot, and so that will need to be done as soon as possible. Fitness equipment is another one that we, every year, we own the fitness equipment in the recreation center, and so to try to keep up to date with some of the other competing facilities, we like to update every year. So what we do is we go in, we identify pieces of equipment that are old or older or out of date, and then we work to trade those out for a new equipment. One of the other things too is our elevator. It's 30 years old. It still works wonderful, but the contractor is telling us that it is no longer, the equipment that is in our facility is no longer made. So if something was to go out in there, we would be down by waiting for that to be changed over. So our goal is to modernize the elevator in our facility. This is something that's been done in most of the other city facilities across the city. Other things is just
Real quick.
Go ahead.
Do you have these prioritized, and are they going to be in our budget book that way?
They will be.
Priority?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we'll prioritize them for you and have them in the budget book. Absolutely.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, and then the last two are just Wi-Fi access update. Wi-Fi in the building is important. Most of our members utilize that. And then the last is just an update to our ADA lift chair for people to get in and out of the pool that are not able to go up and down stairs. The rec center, as Darren alluded to earlier, 100% user funded, and right now we have about $3.4 million in our fund balance. I'll turn it over to Beach. Thank you, guys.
Good morning, Council. Beach. Yeah.
Quick heads up, you got about 20 minutes.
Okay. Thankfully, my slides are short. Beach Johnson, Recreation Manager. Recreation, as Darren talked earlier, is basically any services, any recreation services outside the rec center. So programming in parks or any programming that we partnered in the school district facilities. Quick overlook of the org chart. I have two direct reports. Identified in the master plan is we lack adaptive recreation, so recreation programming for special needs. So that's a future ask in a few fiscal years. If you've also noticed, the outdoor pools is under recreation, and then obviously, so Jessica Vanderpool's position is actually split, so there's 0.7 of her position is in the recreation budget. So otherwise, there's 3 FTEs plus a 0.7. Some division accomplishments. We allocate field space, and as I presented 2-ish months ago or 6 weeks ago, we have over 20 youth and adult sports organizations that we allocate field space to here locally between Nampa Bay Ruth, Little League, youth soccer organizations, youth football organizations, et cetera, et cetera. So we have lots of youth sports users at our facilities. Nearly 10,000 program participants in our recreation programming. Outdoor swimming pool attendance, as John alluded to, is over 32,000 folks using those two outdoor pools. We host 6 special events a year in recreation, and our trips and tours have grown quite a bit over the last couple of years, especially since COVID, as we came back from COVID. Our active older adults are the primary user of that. It's not only active older adults, but that's the primary user, and they like going and seeing the community and what the Treasure Valley has to offer. So that's an exciting one. For the future, funding needed to accommodate program participation growth, better meet the needs of adaptive recreation programming, as I had mentioned. Boise is really the hub of adaptive rec in the Treasure Valley, so our citizens are driving to Boise to participate in their adaptive recreation programs. I think it's important that we start to look at how we offer those kinds of programs for our community and how we can get them to stay here in town. Again, continue to offer diverse program meeting community interests, and as we grow, the interests, grow. Lacrosse is knocking on the door. Rugby is starting to grow in Boise, so people in Canyon County want to play rugby, etc. Archery range and shooting range replacement. So currently there is a shooting range in Nampa off of Railroad. That piece of property, or that building, which is funded by Fish and Game, is on city property. So conversations with the mayor and with Public Works regarding that piece of property and that future use, and then looking at land near the golf course and then having conversations with Fish and Game to continue to have that as an amenity for our community and that level of service in Nampa. And then in the future, we need to re-gunite the pool at Lakeview Water Park. So let's redo the pool itself. It's white cement, basically, is what gunite is. So Mike Day is fantastic at MacGyvering things and patching things, but at some point, we do need to re-gunite that facility. Capital asks at the pool, we do need to upgrade pool pump rooms, both at Lakeview and Lincoln Pool. Chlorine controller, CO2 feeders, and water heater need to be upgraded to keep pools operational for our community. And then a 14-passenger bus with a lift for the rec department to provide accessibility to our trips and tour participants. The biggest piece of feedback we get, it's really complaints, is trying to get in and out of vans. Our active adults are like, man, I don't like getting in and out of this thing. So a bus would be, and then we could share that with the rec center as well for any of their needs as well. So we could both use that facility or that as programming. That's it. Any questions? Tony.
Council, good morning. I'll be brief. I know we're running short on time. My name's Tony Blasius. I'm the golf manager for the city of Nampa. As you can see here, we are not looking for any positions until a few years down the road. So we are, one of the things that we benefit from is we have a great return on our teams. Everybody has seasonal positions that they have to replace, but we do a great job of retaining our staffs. Some of our accomplishments, purchased the 500 acres that the golf courses sit on, which is highly significant for our golf community. We have a lot of things to do, and one of those things is improving rounds. Rounds, as John said, and Beach, COVID was really good for us. The golf industry exploded. So we don't see that slowing down. And with all the people moving into our area, we just don't see that slowing down. So we see that as something that we can improve on continually. Developed a department policy manual, and on the shoulder seasons, we are designing a well to go in. Part of the deed with the purchase of the land, we had the well that sits on the state land. We use it in the shoulder seasons, but as that is an older well, we're on the hook to replace that. So we have a 3-year period where we have to replace the well. That is in process right now. It's not a short process, but we do see that coming on probably in the next fiscal year. Some of our accomplishments here again, we are right in the middle. We're, I want to say, 3 to 4 weeks from completion of our clubhouse renovation. It is looking great. Paint is done. They're into tiling right now and fixtures and finish work to be ahead. So that is exciting for us. Just a few things with that. If you probably haven't been out there, we're creating more of a true banquet space in the clubhouse. So putting in a huge wall that divides the clubhouse, putting in true offices upstairs as well as a meeting space. some much-needed food and beverage storage right next to the cafe and snack bar, and then also a small office near the golf shop. More importantly, improving the restrooms to be brought up to ADA compliance. So it's really looking good in there. Both golf courses installed a concrete strip in the back of their practice range for our off-season usage. Our turf really came out of winter, and it was not looking great because we're still busy through the winter and the grass just doesn't grow. So we installed a concrete strip and we put practice mats out there for time periods probably after October 15th when we start getting frost delays, and then into November through February, so our turf conditions can really improve. The parking lot is done at Centennial. That is exciting. We added approximately 35 new spots, plus we added 15 trailer parking spots just to the west side of number 9. So it's been really significant, and the customers have just loved it. So it's really nice.
Real quick, Tony.
Yes, sir.
When does the landscaping go in that parking lot?
I just got an email this morning. Light fixtures are going into those islands, and then landscaping will be put in by our staff. So we already have conduit for irrigation, so then they'll start putting in some drought-tolerant plants and such. Yeah, that should be by the end of this year. Yeah. Currently, our team over at Ridgecrest, I'm not sure if you know that in the past we've had these huge mounds at the end of the practice range. Well, as golf has grown, the equipment has gotten better, and so people were hitting it further. And so we were losing our range ball capacity. So we kept having to purchase range balls. So thanks to our streets division, they brought some big machinery over and got rid of those mounds, shaped it all, and our team is putting in irrigation. And so we'll gain approximately 75 to, on the smaller end towards Ridgecrest Drive, about 60 yards of practice range. So it's really going to be significant. We'll also put a nursery green out there to take care of any spots on our greens that we need to. Our future is just extremely active in the golf department. We're looking for since we purchased the golf courses, we have a lot of things that we need to do. Our irrigation system at Centennial is paramount. It's a long process. We're starting that process right now, and we're probably looking at fiscal year 25, hopefully, to have that installed. We're looking at a training center at Ridgecrest down the road. We believe this is part of the golf industry that is growing. If you drive by Topgolf, you can see they're busy all the time. That's the aspect of our golf industry that is growing leaps and bounds. There's a lot of things that we can do with that. Instruction, people can play around at Pebble Beach in an hour and a half, 2 hours. We can also give lessons, and equipment sales are huge. So that is going to be really significant for us. We're also going to put a simulator, build a room and a simulator just off the clubhouse at Centennial. Looking to install disc golf for a pay-to-play fee at the Ridgecrest Wee9. And with the ownership, our golf courses are just going to improve. We have a lot of things that we need to do at Centennial, being the older golf course. A lot of tee improvement is top of list right now. We have a lot of tees that we're going to improve, and some that we've already started right now, so that are going to be really significant. Some of our capital, you can see tee complex renovation. We need to continually upgrade our golf equipment at both golf courses, the simulator and simulator room. We are going to renovate the green on number 17 at Ridgecrest. It's a really difficult hole for a player of any caliber. And so we have a plan going forward to soften that green just a little bit with a little bit of renovation. Have to irrigate the back end of the practice range that I just mentioned, the irrigation well, and we're going to purchase new golf carts at Ridgecrest. Thank you.
Tony?
Yes, sir.
Just real quick, when do you plan or foresee to add that youth complex, sports complex to the Ridgecrest capital timeline?
So we're adding the simulator at Centennial first. We want to see how that goes. We know it's going to be a success. We're 100% confident on that. Trying to position that, it's probably going to be hopefully in a couple of fiscal years. We're open to funding, so we are looking to some other funding sources that, one of the things we pride ourselves on as being just user-based. We're enterprise funds, so whatever we make, we spend. So, but I believe that we can get that done in hopefully a couple fiscal years.
And one of the comments I just have for council as well, just thinking now that we own the golf course and want to be innovative and we want to draw people and bring them to Nampa, I think, and Tony, we've had these conversations before, there's an opportunity to have a revenue stream coming in. There's an opportunity to keep folks in Nampa and draw people from other areas year-round, having that as part of the driving range as well as in the wintertime. I would like to see that expedited. I know it front-loads the costs, especially with everything else. It gets expensive. However, it provides an opportunity, having those bays and membership opportunities and events, bookings, and private other private events being held in there, as well as for the youth getting training and prepping the well for the next generation. I think it's something that for the next couple of years you're going to hear me bring up, and both of you are going to have my ear on it. I would like to see that come through because it is innovative. It's something that's going to create revenue. It's going to draw people to Nampa and to our golf courses, and it's a huge demand. And I'll say that over and over and over again because within my own family, I'm not a golfer, but my family is. They pay $180 a month upwards to go and use a golf simulator in Boise. And they can never get in because it's always booked out.
Yeah.
We're missing our opportunity by kicking this can down the road. So,
thank you. We can stretch our revenue into the winter months significantly. So, yeah.
Tony, do you think it would be profitable to have the pay-to-play disc golf with CWI? They have a course, and then Ora Brandt has a small course there as well, so those are right in the same area.
I'm just getting into the research of disc golf because I don't play. I know it's getting extremely popular. I live out Orchard in Indiana, and there's a park there that I drive to our aunt's house, and everybody's playing disc golf. I never not see anyone out there. So it's popular. I think the Wii9 is a perfect place for it. I think that the golf and the disc golf can live symbiotically on that structure right there. I don't think it can be on either of the championship golf courses. We would be taking a loss, I think, if we did that.
And that is what came out of the master plan. So there were groups, a lot of participation from disc golf, looking for an 18-hole, willing to help us set it up, willing to be involved. And so from their standpoint, they feel like it would be successful.
Yeah.
Great. And then also, just as we continue to talk about the number one need are these walking paths, right? That's part of our master plan. So is there any proposed plan of improving those throughout the golf courses so that people can utilize that for walking and not disturb the golfers?
Yeah, and so part of our master plan, if you go back, and we didn't add a slide, but if you look at that master plan, it does add a lot of walking elements. One is a connection down 11th to try to get to downtown, which would be really good. Mm-hmm. During our conversations with golfers, in some areas where we wanted to put walking, there was a lot of resistance from golfers. And so it was trying to find a balance of where we would put these walking paths and still try to meet some of the concerns of the golfers. But there is some walking opportunities that you'll see on the master plan.
And those will be paved?
They would be paved,
okay.
Yes.
One last comment in regard, coming back to the disc golf. Star, we just recently had a training over there for the AIC. They purchased a big chunk of land right by the river in their clubhouse space, and they're developing that to be a tournament style disc golf course. ESPN's already sponsoring an event for it next year. That might be a department you want to call and say, give us some I know you have it under control, but maybe some tips and saying, what have you seen is a draw for ESPN? What is a draw for all these outside sponsorships? Once again, just thinking about those sponsors, those donors, and bringing that to Nampa, because it seems that we're going to be going toe-to-toe with Star here for the next couple generations.
Thank you. So, Council, thank you. Thank you very much. That concludes our presentation. Appreciate all of your support and what you do for us. If you don't have any other questions, I think we're right about 9 o'clock, just right on time. And so, again, appreciate your.
I have one last comment, Darren, because just hearing it from all the heads of the rec center, I just wanted to give kudos to you, even when I initially came on visiting with council members and doing all that. It's clear that the rec department, and I lost the whole phrase, Parks and Rec is doing a good job at retention and keeping good qualified people on staff, and I will attribute a lot of that to you, and a lot of your people give a lot of praise to you, so great work on keeping it a good, positive place to work and keeping those folks in Nampa.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. Thank you.
Darren, it's very impressive the amount of work that you guys do with such a small budget. So thank you for all of that and for going after the grants as much as you can, and for keeping that budget under control, because that's important. But these parks are important too. So I think that we see the value of investing in them. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, some of the things that we've been trying to do, the walking and what's kind of great about when you get a new park and when you find places to gather, of how much community happens at those places and how many connections. It's just hard to believe when you look out when you hear the stories of the people that met at Amity Dog Park. I mean, there's certain groups that go out that they only met at the dog park. Now they go out to dinner on Friday nights, and they have all these clubs, and they meet at the same time. And so all these connections in the community are happening at parks. And so I think they're important.
Thanks, Darren.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. This meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, sir.